મંદિરમાં આજે એક ભવ્ય કાર્યક્રમ યોજવામાં આવ્યો છે। CMS COP-13 શિખર સંમેલન, જેમાં 22મી ફેબ્રુઆરી સુધી આ સંમેલન ચાલવાનું છે।
View from space can provide such clarity on how all natural systems are deeply interconnected and support the most precious thing in the universe, life. From orbit, you also realize how vulnerable and at risk life on Earth can be. The iconic image of the Earth, seen for the first time from space over 50 years ago, captivated the whole world. Yet today, I can testify that this image is visibly transforming, with alarming evidence of the present environmental crisis. Our home is changing at an unnatural rate and an unprecedented one, to the point where we are in danger of losing over 1 million different species just in our lifetime. Migratory animals are among the most vulnerable species on the planet. They do not know borders, and during their often long and difficult journeys, they frequently encounter many threats from human activities. They need a connected series of sites they can go throughout their lives. They serve as ambassadors, connecting not just areas and ecosystems, but also nations and people. I'm glad to know that the Convention on Migratory Species is there to help us solve these challenges together. The whole world relies on your actions to guarantee their survival and to stop them from disappearing from this planet forever. You have an important week ahead of you. While in India, you will no doubt be reminded of what Gandhi said: the future depends on what we do in the present. The negotiations of the coming days can make a difference for the future of wildlife and the entire planet. I wish you a successful meeting for the future of planet Earth, our shared home.
That was Luca Parmitano. Ms. Joyce Masuya is the Deputy Executive Director, United Nations Environment Programme. We now invite Ms. Masuya for her remarks.
Thank you. Honorable Chief Minister of Gujarat, Honorable Union Minister, Environment, Forest and Climate, Honorable Minister of State, Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Chief Secretary, Government of Gujarat, Honorable Ministers, Heads of Delegation, Executive Secretary of the Convention on Migratory Species of Wild Animals. Good morning. I would like to start by thanking the Government of India for hosting this conference in the beautiful city of Gandhinagar. I know that India will bring first-class leadership to the South Asia region and to the whole world as the CMS COP president for the next 3 years. When I was young, I often visited my grandparents' home at the foothills of Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. I would wake each day to the kunguru, a local bird. Their song told us when it was time to get up and when the sun was about to go down. It was the soundtrack to our family's mornings and evenings. As I grew older, roads replaced dirt tracks and the forests were cleared to make way for new homes and a growing population. The birds soon disappeared and we had to buy my grandmother an alarm clock to replace their morning calls. I often think back to the birds at my grandparents' house when I contemplate the number of species we have already lost. The rate of extinction today is on average 1,000 times greater than at any point in the recorded history. Scientist and writer Rachel Carson had it right. We know exactly what extinction sounds like. Extinction sounds like silence, like the loss of birdsong from my grandparents' home. And I know we are all concerned about the loss of nature and the silence that accompanies it. We need to look no farther than the devastating wildfires that have recently burned through Australia, the Arctic, and the Amazon to realize that this threat is only rising. The world at 1 degree of warming above the pre-industrial era is already alarming. And yet, despite this bleak outlook, I am hopeful I believe we still have an opportunity to reverse course if we all come together to take collective action. To do this, we need to make 2020 a super year of nature. This must be the year we agree to halt and reverse the ecological devastation by pulling together and developing and implementing an ambitious post-2020 biodiversity framework. That is why I'm extremely delighted we are kicking off this critical year with this conference in India. This COP is an opportunity to accelerate efforts to conserve migratory species and their habitats, and to protect the connectivity of these habitats so that species can move between them, allowing biodiversity to flourish. This concept of ecological connectivity provides us with a means by which multiple countries can agree on shared conservation goals beyond national plans and priorities, and offers a strong foundation for international cooperation. We must take advantage of these unique opportunities for internationally coordinated conservation measures and nature-based solutions. Applying to the lens of ecological connectivity to this, and indeed all environmental challenges, means that we are also contributing to global efforts to address climate change mitigation, resilience, adaptation, and land degradation neutrality, to name a few. This is why this CMS is so important. We are losing species at such an alarming rate. The science has spoken. 1 million out of nearly 8 million species face a threat of extinction. This meeting comes at a crucial moment. The UN's Nature Summit takes place later this year. It will be an opportunity for countries to accelerate political momentum and action as we craft the post-2020 global biodiversity framework. This COP will play a major role in shaping this framework, and in doing so, shape the fate of our future and planet. We are so proud to count on the Convention on Migratory Species among the 15 global environmental conventions that dock at UNEP. Because CMS focuses on migratory species that cross national and international boundaries, it has immense power to foster the regional and global collaboration that is so central to stopping the nature crisis that we face today. And we are deeply grateful for the leadership displayed by the government of India, be it in the conservation of migratory birds, the conservation of critically endangered species, including the Asiatic lion, the snow leopard, and the Gangetic dolphin. And finally, for driving the kinds of transboundary cooperation that is so vital to protecting all migratory species on this planet. As the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres told the General Assembly last month, living in harmony with nature is more important than ever. Everything is interlinked, he said. The current discord between humanity and the rest of the natural world means we are in the process of tearing apart nature's web. Let this year be the year we start to repair the damage we have done and put back the pieces so that the natural world and our place in it can flourish once again. I wish you all the very best in deliberations over the coming days and your collective efforts to protect, conserve, and secure the future of migratory species on our planet. We should also remember this is about people. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Amy Frankel is the Executive Secretary of the Convention of Migratory Species and Wild Animals. We now invite Ms. Amy Frankel for her remarks.
Thank you very much. I would first like to express my deepest gratitude and appreciation to Prime Minister Modi for supporting nature and the Convention on Migratory Species by inaugurating CMS COP-13. I would also like to give my most sincere and personal thanks to the leaders that grace our presence here today. His Excellency Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, Honorable Chief Minister of Gujarat, Honorable Minister, Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Honorable Minister of State, Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Chief Secretary, Government of Gujarat, Secretary, Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Honorable Ministers, Heads of Delegation, UN Assistant Secretary and Deputy Executive Director of the UN Environment Program, Ms. Joyce Msuya. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you first to the many officials from the Government of India and the State of Gujarat who have worked so hard with us to make COP-13 a reality, and for your generosity and warm hospitality. And finally, let me welcome all of the representatives of the UN, our sister conventions, and of course, all of the delegates from parties, non-parties, NGOs, and other stakeholders. Welcome to the biggest CMS COP ever. I arrived at CMS last May as acting Executive Secretary with this COP on the horizon and many CMS meetings on the calendar, on gorillas, on giraffes, on turtles, on sharks, and many on birds. On about the third day, I smiled as I realized I was in exactly the right place. I grew up with the values of a naturalist, hiking not to conquer the peaks, but to stop frequently along the way, to watch a bird, admire a mushroom, and rejoice in the beauty of the forest. I'm honored and energized to serve as Executive Secretary of CMS. I feel like I have come home to work on the issues that are closest to me, and I want to thank the entire CMS family secretariat, all of our parties and partners for making me feel so welcome. It was not easy to step into this role in this way after the tragedy that befell Bradley Chambers. It was his vision to hold this meeting in India, and I hope we will all do him justice and deliver an incredibly successful COP-13. CMS just celebrated its 40th anniversary last year. It is therefore fitting that we start this year with CMS COP-13 at this very important moment in time for biodiversity and for the planet. First, the UN Global Assessment Report on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services released last year painted a very stark picture about the state of biodiversity and species loss, including that we are at risk of losing 1 million species, which include migratory species, to extinction. We need to go even deeper and better understand what is happening to migratory species, the threats and the solutions, in order to focus and prioritize our actions. We have prepared an initial report on the status of migratory species for this meeting, and already it has some interesting findings, including that over 70% of species on Appendix 1 are declining, and that overexploitation of species, including from direct use, along with habitat loss, are the top threats to our species. Because this work is so important to the work of CMS, we have called for core funding to prepare a flagship report regularly on the status of migratory species. Second, COP-13 is kicking off the super year for nature. It is the first of a series of international meetings in 2020, which will culminate in the UN Biodiversity Conference, where a new strategy for the decade will be adopted. COP-13 provides an important opportunity to impact this new framework, building on the stakeholder forum and the high-level segment that were held over the past 2 days. It is crucial that the priorities for CMS are reflected in this new strategy. Third, CMS has a unique role to play, and we clearly need to step up our actions. CMS is the only multilateral treaty dedicated to addressing the needs of migratory species and their habitats. At the heart of CMS is international cooperation, whether at the bilateral, regional, or global scales. This COP will consider new species listings and concerted actions, many resolutions and proposals dealing with species, as well as existing and emerging threats. In addition, I believe that with 1 million species at risk, we may need to consider whether 10 or even 20 or more listing proposals every 3 years is keeping pace, and how else we can raise our ambition and bring greater actions to bear on what is happening to migratory species. Fourth, migratory species are integral to the ecosystems in which they are found, and yes, their value can be shown in terms of dollars, euros, and rupees, but they are much more than that. Migratory species touch people's hearts. They are deeply embedded in many cultures, reflected on national flags, on stamps, on coins, names of sports teams, and in spiritual practices. we need to do more to raise awareness about migratory species and nature. Finally, we need to work together, now more than ever before. CMS is just one legal instrument, and in order to address and direct the indirect and direct drivers of biodiversity loss, climate change, desertification, and other environmental problems, we need to identify common issues and priorities, such as ensuring that the SDGs, which envisioned economic and social development in step with a healthy environment, is achieved. To paraphrase Rachel Carson, the biologist most known for her book Silent Spring, our war against nature is inevitably a war against our future. We are challenged as never before to prove our maturity and our mastery, not of nature, but of ourselves. We have a very busy week ahead of us, and I hope you are all energized and ready to work hard given the stakes. With the full engagement of all of you and with the leadership of India as the next COP president, I am very optimistic about what we can do together. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We now invite Honorable Minister of State, Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India, Mr. Babul Supriyo, for his address.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude and regards to the dignitaries on stage, my boss, Honorable Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Shri Prakash Javadekar, Honorable Chief Minister of Gujarat, Shri Rupani ji, Deputy Executive Director of UNEP, Amy, Executive Secretary of CMC, Joyce. I swapped the names. I'm sure you're going to, I migrated the names, but you're going to swap that. All honorable foreign ministers who are present here, thank you so much for migrating from your own countries to India. I hope you like what you see, and I hope you're going to enjoy and enlighten each other with what we are going to exchange in terms of ideas, inspiration, etc. in the next few days. As Amy said, we do have a very long and strong weekend ahead of discussions and exchange of ideas. Chief Secretary of Gujarat, our very own Secretary from the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, distinguished dignitaries and guests, it's a great honor that India is hosting the COP-13, and we are celebrating, and we are very, very determined to make this world a better place for migrating species and animals who, without any kind of ATS support, air traffic control support, can fly from one place to the other. And they do that every year, seeking for love and better environment. It is also a great proud moment because in a little while we are going to have our Honorable Prime Minister, our driving force, who is going to address all of us and ceremonially kickstart this particular event. CMS brings together the countries for internationally coordinated conservation measures through migratory range of animals. This COP is an opportune time to renew contacts and discuss problems of migratory species conservation with delegates from different countries. I am proud, very proud, that the 13th COP is happening in the land of Mahatma Gandhi, who once said, "What we are doing to the forests of the world is but a mirror reflection of what we are doing to ourselves and one another." The concept of, very interestingly, the concept of conservation of wildlife is also enshrined in the Indian Constitution itself. The Constitution says that it shall be the fundamental duty of every citizen to protect and improve the natural environment, including forest, wildlife, and its habitats. India, as you know, offers a rich panorama of ecosystems across its forests. It's a huge country with humongous different kinds of species and topographical and geographical diversity, forests, coasts, and wetlands. India has been protecting its wildlife from the time immemorial. I take great pleasure in introducing to you a very traditional practice which has been celebrated in India for a very long time and which contributed towards creating the logo of this particular COP. The concept of the CMS COP-13 logo is also inspired by one such Indian tradition called kolam from southern India, which is of profound significance in the context of living in harmony with the mother nature. The people just don't decorate the doorsteps, but serve as bird and insect feed as they're drawn with rice powder every morning before sunrise. So the birds come in, they have the food, and they fly away. This unique gesture signifies our respect for all the species sublimely built into our culture. The form of the kolam is used here as the main graphic element composed of the migrating species we want to protect as part of the CMS COP-13. As you all know, the theme of the CMS COP-13 is migratory species connect the planet, and together we welcome them home, which is derived from the ethos of Indian culture, Atiti Deva Bhava, meaning guests are gods. In the recent past, I must tell you that the Government of India have incorporated several acts which ensures the protection of forest and wildlife, which includes the Indian Forest Act as long back as in 1927, the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, the Forest Conservation Act 1980, Environment Protection Act 1986, and the Biological Diversity Act 2002. With these continuous efforts, several protected areas have been created across the country. The number of protected areas in the country is increasing, and we are one of the few states, few countries in the world where our forest cover has actually gone up. The total area under PA is now 1,65,088 square kilometers. To check the, I wish to also mention one more significant thing. To check the decline in the population of vultures in India. Vultures are great natural scavengers, and we need them in our society to keep a cleaner environment, and they are very much part of our ecosystem. To check the decline in the population of vulture in India, Government of India has not only researched but found out the reason why the population of vultures were decreasing, and it was found that the veterinary use of diclofenac, a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, which is extensively used in humans, it was responsible for the mass death of vultures. However, after banning that particular chemical, the death has declined significantly, and we are hoping that we are going to get back the number of vultures that have been lost due to some carelessness. Let's celebrate this super year of biodiversity, wildlife as COP for migratory species. In a way, we are all migratory species. We fly from one city to the other. We move from one department to the other. There are several ministers here. You never know whether you're going to be the same minister in the same department. So you might today be the environment minister, tomorrow you could be the petroleum minister, you could be the coal minister today, tomorrow. So we are all migrating. While we do that, we leave one place, we wish to leave one place singing in happiness about the love that we have received there, and then fly through a very clean and enjoy our journey as we move on and migrate to another place where we are received with love and a better environment. The migratory species, none of them can speak. They sing, they make noises, but they cannot complain. And therefore, they must be very happy to know that all of us have actually got together to exchange ideas and to really have a resolute and determination to make the world a better place in the days to come. And on a lighter note, they are also going to be very happy to know that between this 15th and 22nd of February, during this entire COP, there is going to be no meat served in any of the meals that you're going to get. So I once again welcome all of you. It's a great honor, and I hope you're going to enjoy and make the world a better place and make the migratory species live a more happy life ever after. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.